Hello there, beautiful souls and beautiful humans. RozyGlow here. Delighted to be with you today. Here we are in a beautiful space of change. We are in the midst of the 777 portal, which I'm calling the gateway to heaven. 777, gateway to heaven. And the winds of change are blowing. And it felt really important to touch base with everyone today and speak about fear, speak about how fear can be either a constrictive force that stops us in our tracks and stops us from being able to move forward towards our dreams and our highest intentions, or it can be utilized to support us to actually navigate towards our dreams, and to recognize that when we feel fear, this is a sign of progress, that we are actually moving beyond what we know, the familiar zone. And what I really wanted to do is bring under the microscope this idea of going from fearful to fearless, and actually how fear can be something that we work with rather than expect to eliminate. Because I know for many people who are attracted to my work, there is this idea that fear is motivating their lives far more than they'd like it to. This can often manifest as anxiety, stress, constant worry, even getting depressed as the nervous system is overloaded and, our adrenal glands get shot to pieces. So then we end up more unable to do anything because we're crippled by fear. And by that, I mean, it stops us in our tracks. So the important thing is to remember that fear has a purpose. And whether you are someone who is a trailblazer intending to co-create the new earth paradigm with me, or whether you're someone who feels more like you just like to experience more grace and ease in your day-to-day life, it's still the same issue that we are facing. So that's the topic of today's live. So do feel free to grab a notebook and a pen and sit back and relax and allow yourself to open your heart to the messaging that's coming through. Because when I share these lives, I'm channeling divine grace through the RozyGlow galaxy, the Star Peace community or collective. And this is all new to you. I have a Facebook group called Manifesting Star Peace Utopia, where I talk much more about what all of this means. And very recently, as in a few days ago, I made a video about 3D, 4D and 5D consciousness in terms of density, in terms of our vibrational frequency, and what it means to see the world multidimensionally, and how this can actually support us at this point in time as we allow the old world, the old structures, the stress struggle paradigm to disintegrate, knowing that we are creating new structures around this, which are the new earth paradigm. And this is not the new world order. This is not the direction that has been created for us, not by those of loving intent, but those that would seek to control and dominate through fear. Whether that's in our own psyche or in the outside doesn't matter. It's all part of the same thing, because it's inside and outside. That's how it works. We're actually talking here about the inspired vision of living a soul-led and heart-centered existence as humans on this earth, recognizing that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. And also, when we choose to remember this is the truth, we can live by it. We are conscious co-creators of our reality, and we can learn to create our reality, to co-create it. It's not just down to us, because there's all sorts of factors at play, but to co-create it in alignment with our higher self, in alignment with our soul consciousness, and the intention to always create the highest good outcomes for everyone and the win-win-win. So when we start to operate from this level of consciousness, we're really moving out of 3D and 4D into the 5D realm of co-creating through frequency, through going inwards first and deciding what it is we want to experience as a feeling vibration. And then as we set that out in the world, as we anchor this frequency into this world, we see evidence of it. And that's how we shift our collective reality, is through shifting our personal reality. This brings me back to the whole conversation, which is about fear. So I'm going to stick to script because, as you know, I can make these videos pretty long, and I want to make this one a short one. So first thing to ask you is, what fears are currently motivating your life? So when you look at your decision making, either in your personal life, in your relationship with your children, at work, when you're making decisions about the future direction of your business or your career, even what you want to learn next, the next course you're going to go on, this next, self-development aspect you want to focus on, what what are the fears that are motivating you? And it's good to just write that down, because if you know that you have got certain fears motivating you, you can work with them. But all the while that you're in denial that fear is running your life on any level, it's going to keep coming and biting you in the bum when you least expect it. So we can look at fear as false evidence or false expectation or false emotion appearing real. We can also look at it in very tangible forms. So running out of money, speaking your truth and being abandoned, rejected, or betrayed, seeing that there is a new direction, a new system you can put in place in the work that you do, maybe as a sole CEO, or as someone who is creating new content in this world, and knowing that maybe initially it's not going to be well received. It might be criticized, it might be judged, it might be repressed even and suppressed. It might not be the time. There might be those that don't want it to come out because it could truly liberate the whole of the world, right? So just take a moment, take a breath. What are the fears that are currently motivating you? What are the fears that are currently playing in your mind, or even playing on your heart? And just allow yourself to actually write those down. Maybe it's that you'll never be able to experience something you want. And I want to speak specifically right now to those who are in positions of power and influence, to those who are outwardly looking as though they're doing incredibly well. Maybe you've got a huge following. Maybe you've managed to break through the kind of income barriers that many people struggle with, and you're working with millions and billions, and you're, supporting a shift in global perspective and culture. What are the fears driving you? Is it that perhaps you feel as though whatever you do, it's never going to be enough, that you'll never feel a sense of fulfillment that you're longing to experience, that, whatever you do, it's never quite going to have the effect that you want it to have in this world. It's never quite going to hit the mark. Like, let's get clear on what it is that is motivating us, because for many, we have this idea, as I said, that we want fear to just leave our lives. We want to live a fearless life. There's no fear at all. And yet fear has a purpose, and that is to keep us safe. Fear is there to allow us to basically become alert to truly life-threatening situations. However, we are living in a world where we're programmed to be fearful. This has been going on for so many generations. If we just go back 9,000 years and just the whole of the patriarchal paradigm, it is about separation. It is about giving power away to external authority. It is about not trusting our inner authority. It is about avoiding suffering, playing by rules that will allow you to be protected, to go to heaven, whatever it is that the story is in your religion, your culture, your familial stories. The important thing for us to remember is that we have been living in a world for a very long time where unprocessed trauma has passed from one generation to the next. And again, that kind of drive to succeed, that drive to triumph, that drive to win, if you like, can really come from a sense of lack and loss. And typically, as I say, when I work with those who appear outwardly to have it all, to look successful, to have achieved what so many people struggle to achieve or aim to achieve, whatever that may be, whether it's financial, whether it might be relationship status, it might be around children, it might be around visibility, it might be around, status. Yeah. What is on the inside is this sense that no matter what, I'm not enough, no matter what, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, something or someone is going to take this away. Now, this kind of fear is around belief. It's also around negative emotions, self-identity, right? Whereas fears around genuine safety, like, do I have enough food to eat? Will I have a roof over my head? Am I safe to go out my front door? Is this person that I'm living with safe to be around? This kind of thing is different, right? That's really deep, really kind of survival-based reality that we need to address. Is the fear that I have genuinely, like, a life-threatening fear? Or is it an ego-threatening fear? And this is very important, because ego is self-identity. Is this a threat to my genuine safety? Is this a threat to my genuine life, which it might be? Or is this a threat to my self-identity? And when we can start to separate these two, we can really move forward. I'll give you an example. In my Manifesting Star Peace Utopia group, I have asked the question, what is your idea of a personal paradise? So those who are in the group, I sent a message out on Messenger and I was like, you know, what is it? What is your dream? What is it you want to activate in this world? And honestly, I asked everyone to send back to me their answers in the present tense, as though it has already been created. And I genuinely couldn't tell the difference between those who are longing to create something or those who have. Now, it's one thing to know what you want, right? It's then another thing to be able to create it, to manifest it, to materialize it in your life. The question is, why don't things materialize that we want? And typically there's going to be resistance. There's going to be resistance to materializing this in our conscious mind processing, so things we're actually aware of. So we could say, I just don't believe I'm worth it. I just don't believe I'm going to be able to achieve it. I just don't believe it's possible. I just believe that, you know, there's too much resistance to this idea right now. This is something we're consciously aware of, right? And there can also be subconscious resistance, which is not something we're aware of, i.e., if we were to explore it, we'd be able to go back in time and see that maybe something happened in our early childhood. We heard things about ourselves, or we got programmed to believe things about the world that have limited our idea of what is possible. And we're not so aware unless we go searching for these particular beliefs and these early life circumstances. And it can also be time in the womb. It could be programming around our own mother's experience of the world and whether she felt when she was growing us and we were forming, because we've been forming from the moment the egg and the sperm met, right? Whether the world felt like it was a safe place or a place that we had to prepare ourselves to fight to survive in. So we're either wired to survive or thrive, and that's another topic of conversation. But for the most part, I think it's helpful for everybody to recognize that the majority of this planet, unless you live in Timbuktu and literally have not been exposed to 3D terrestrial programming, so TV, radio, school, newspapers, you know, pop culture, that we've all been wired to survive. And our current maternity services also play a part in this continuing of this wiring to survive rather than thrive, because of the way our systems are set up. And that's an area that, you know, I've spent many, many years working in and researching in, and it's a really key part of us changing the world overall in terms of our expectations of the world. So on a global level, in order for us to move from fearful to fearless and to actually work with fear as a motivational force by firstly addressing, is this an acute threat to my identity or an acute threat to my safety? Then we can move on from there. My physical safety, my psychological, emotional safety, we can move on from there. But also in this is to overall have a global culture where we are generally experiencing life as being for us, as being, it has our back, that life loves us and wants us to be happy, as my auntie Zoe used to say. That's going to require us to be wired to thrive rather than survive. Now, if most of us have been wired to survive rather than thrive, what do we actually need to do in order to shift our wiring? Well, we need to go from being adrenaline dominant to oxytocin dominant. And that is the foundation of all that I teach as a coach, as a yoga teacher and as a coach. You know, this isn't just a psychological shift. It's not just a spiritual shift or an emotional shift or a physical shift. It's all of them. So when I say multidimensional, I mean on all levels, we need to address this issue of being wired to survive so that we can become wired to thrive. And even when we're wired to thrive, doesn't mean we won't experience fear. It's just that we'll know when we experience fear, there's something to look at there, to lean into, to become curious about, to bring light to embrace rather than shy away from. There are obviously unconscious fears as well. So unconscious, subconscious, and conscious. So conscious we're aware of, subconscious they're hidden, but we could address, we could find some connection to. An unconscious reaction, visceral reactions, like, you know, for me, in the past, it has been, you know, this terrifying fear of snakes, which has been shifting over time. But it was death and it was snakes. Didn't know why. Death, you could say, is the the fear of the threat of the annihilation of the ego. It could just be that I just couldn't believe that we amounted to absolutely nothing once we left our physical bodies. And there's an innate sense in me that that wasn't true. But I had to have this fear to move into it and to address it. And it's certainly not conscious or even subconscious. It's unconscious. It's there lurking very, 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 very deep. As with most of us, when we have some kind of reaction, fearful reaction, we just don't know why to something. But there's something I wanted to talk about very briefly here, which is about when we stretch ourselves. So when I'm working with my clients, I take them through a 6-step process. So my passion is to teach those who are ready, to guide those who are ready to live a soul-led, heart-centered, soul-led existence. So to operate from their higher self rather than their conditioned self, which is the fear-based self. And this is the rewiring from surviving to thriving, right? So, you know, to go through this process, there's 6 steps that we follow. And although they're simple, it doesn't mean it's easy, because when your self-identity feels threatened, it kicks off big time and will do everything it can, including projecting on others or shaming self, working through guilt, self-sabotage, etc., to prevent this change actually occurring. But the point is, for us to get from where we are to where we want to be, we have to go through a process. And that's the birth canal for me. It's like going through an idea of, I could be something different to this. How do I become the version of me that has the things that I don't currently have, has the experiences that I don't currently have? And to then allow that version of us to be born requires a process of bringing false identity to light and transmuting it, evolving it, bringing light to it, raising its frequency. Now, we talk about the comfort zone in coaching, right? And the comfort zone isn't actually comfortable, it's just familiar. It's what we know. We can expect to be disappointed. We know what we're going to get from our usual patterns of behavior. We know how things are going to work. It's incredibly predictable. And it might not be what we want, but it's familiar, so we stick with it because we don't know what's outside of that comfort zone. You then have another zone, which is your stretch zone. And that's kind of like the what else is possible? What excites me? What motivates me to move beyond this comfort zone, knowing that if I stay here, it's actually just going to become more and more uncomfortable, even though it's familiar. Like, for example, a growing baby in a womb, it can't stay in the womb forever. It's got to go through the birth canal to come out into the world. However, the birth canal is the stretch zone, or the squeeze zone, if you like, because it's going to squeeze out of you anything that can't go with you in the new world, right? In the space that you're growing into. So your stretch zone is kind of it's like there's a reason to go through the temporary discomfort of change, because there's an excitement that motivates you. Maybe, you know, you feel like you're uncomfortable in your body right now. You want to be healthier, fitter, slimmer. You want to be more toned. You want to, you know, have energy that you didn't have before. And so you're willing to go through the stretch zone of adopting a new routine, a new, you know, healthy habits, food routine, look at intermittent fasting, whatever it is you actually do. That's your stretch zone to get you to the place where you can experience the physical reality of being vibrantly healthy, right? Now, stretch zone is great, but then you get to this other zone, which is some call the fear zone, I call the terror zone, which is when you have an idea that inspires you, but also terrifies you at the same time. And maybe you've just gone a little beyond your stretch zone, a little too far here, where actually the dream, the vision you have of yourself or of the world just feels like, oh my goodness, who am I to do that? How am I going to do it? It seems too big. I can't, I don't have the resources. I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not deserving, blah, 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 blah. And that part of our sort of beyond stretch, the terror, will constrict us. It will make us go inwards and not actually take the steps that we need to take, because there's so much subconscious resistance. There's subconscious and conscious resistance and unconscious resistance. Everything's gone, no way, Jose, not doing that. So as pioneers, as trailblazers, those of us who are creating new worlds from old worlds, so anyone who is seeking to change our lives personally or collectively, if this is you, you have a vision for the world, or you have a vision for your own life that is different to the one you have, you are a pioneer, you are a trailblazer, right? You are a visionary, because you're using your imagination to go from something you don't want to something you do want. How do you make fear work for you? Well, you want to play with that stretch zone where you can be excited about what it is you want to create, and notice where you get to the place where terror or panic steps in, and that's just a bit too far. So when we co-create consciously, we have an end result vision, right? We have a place that we feel we want to get to. What's the end result? What is the vision for you, right? Let's just say in my world, it's seeing Star Peace go viral. If you haven't checked it out yet, go to starpeaceconsciousness.com, check out the manifesto. And if you love it, then please add your name to it. Thank you. Part of Star Peace going viral as a concept is it would shift the entertainment industry, particularly the way birth is portrayed and pregnancy is portrayed in entertainment. And also the book, the Star Peace Star Maps, would come out. So I've got this vision that 1 billion people have signed the manifesto, have bought the book, have signed up to Star Peace, knowing that essentially this is 10% of the population that will allow the concept to spread like wildfire. Now, where on this journey am I? What thrills me? What excites me? Am I ready to work with the visionaries, those who have huge followings that will allow this idea to propagate? Do I feel like I can step into that? Well, a year ago, 2 years ago, I'd said no, I didn't, for lots of reasons. I had to go through my own resistance, my own self-doubt, my own questioning of whether or not, I had the resources required in me, the self-belief and everything else, to the tools even to give to others to make this shift. And this is the point, is on your journey from fearful to fearless, you have to have that end result inspiration and then see where you are from now. Where can you get to that is exciting, and where do you get to that's terrifying? Because in order to get from the you that is now to the you that has what you want, that is materialized in this world, it is required that you meet the resistance that comes up. Just the resistance, not all of the resistance that you could possibly have about anything and everything, because you'll never get anywhere, but specifically in relation to what you desire to co-create in this world, what you desire to manifest in this world. So this is really, what this is all about. This is how you move from a 3D fear-based reality where you're literally trying to avoid pain all the time to a 5D reality where you're in the feeling vibration of already having created what you desire. The bridge is the 4th dimension. It's the realm of the mind. It's how you work with the resistance that comes up. Do you let it stop you, shut you down, actually prevent you from moving forward, and you decide, no, I'm not going to do it, there's no point anyway, it's up to someone else, I'll leave it? Or do you work with it and go, oh, good, I've got some fuel here to work with, let's separate this. Is this self-identity? Is it genuine life-threatening scenario? Let's play with it. What can I do? What can create around this? If it's genuinely life-threatening, what do I need to do to safeguard my life? If it's identity-threatening, ego-threatening, what is it I need to shift in terms of my beliefs around myself so this becomes appealing rather than not appealing, because it's going to mean a part of me is annihilated. Now, this is really important because we say we want things, but then we're not willing to do the work to shift the person that we are to become the person that can have what we want. So the version of me now isn't the version of me that I'll need to be in order to make manifest my dream. I have to grow into that, raise my frequency, and allow everything that needs to shift in accordance with 1, having a desire, 2, surrendering that desire to the highest good of all and the win-win-win, which might be that it's not to have 1 billion signatures and 1 billion people eyes on this manifesto. It might be something else that happens on the way that I just have to open to. So have your desire and let go of your attachment to outcome, right? And then follow the steps that are required to take, which your soul will tell you. And this is where all the fun is at, because we can create structures, we can create systems to allow us to kind of meet the false evidence, expectation and emotion appearing real and deal with it. But it's actually very difficult to see our own blind spots. It's very difficult to see how we limit ourselves and the things that are really holding us back. So back to what I was saying about the those who are in the group that I'd asked about to tell me about their personal paradise. They're clear what it is. The next step is, what are you doing to actually create it? What are you doing to help make this manifest in your life? And We can be taking conscious action towards what we want, but if we're not dealing with the subconscious resistance, and if we're not allowing ourselves to meet the parts of us that don't want what we want and have conversations with those parts of us, then we're not going to achieve it, because we're going to need to challenge the beliefs that we have, the expectations that we have, the mindset that we have that prevents us having what we want, that actually repels what we want rather than attracts it. That's the work. That's where commitment is required. That's where resilience is required. That is where commitment, resilience, and just the patience required to know that what you are putting in motion is going to yield a result. And the more you lean into and you have the tools to be able to deal with the fears that you have, the resistance that you have, the more you'll see this unpack in your life. Now, I took the slow road around this for a very long time. It was around vision boards, it was around affirmations, it was around tapping, it was around thinking positively, it was around, you know, attending workshops, watching videos, reading books, but it was slow, very slow. It was almost like one step forward, two steps back, rather than two steps forward, one step back. As I said, there is a level of reprogramming that has to happen, however you go about it, whether you work with someone like me to address all of the subconscious programming, detox it and reprogram it, whether you're working with a specialist who works, you know, does different modalities, because there are different modalities out there. We have to work with those deeper parts of us that don't want what we've got or what we say we want. And that way we will progress. It's one thing to change a belief, right? It's another thing to then shift the world around you to match your new beliefs so that actually you can uphold your new frequency. So it's one thing to change, it's another thing to maintain. And that's why this is so, so important. So what I would say is, you know, if you find that fear is stopping you reaching out, taking risks, being honest, or making a desired change, it's really worth exploring that. And you may or may not know that I run a fabulous program called FearLESS, Loved Up and Limitless. And this is the journey. This is the detox and reprogramming journey of the subconscious and the nervous system and the conscious mind to align with the higher self, the superconscious. This is it's a journey. It's a 12-month journey. There is a 6-month option, but it is a long journey to allow you to, one, align with, and two, become the version of you want to be. Now, that might just seem too much, which is why I decided to create a couple of specials over the summer. And that was my soul activation call and also my divine navigation call. So the Starseed activation call is really what I would normally call a breakthrough call. It's looking at where you are, where you want to be, and what's really in the way. And you'll give me some idea of what's in the way, and then I'll be able to reflect back to you what is really in the way and what's going to need to happen in order for you to align and have the things that you want manifest in your life. So that you've got a sense of the rungs of the ladder you're going to need to get from here to here, right? The divine navigation call is that breakthrough call, that activation call, but it's more than that. It's also where we create a bespoke co-creation meditation specifically for you and bring through your soul guidance as well that will allow you to get more of a sense of how your personal desires actually really fit into your soul purpose too, and how to shift your perspective of your soul purpose so it becomes a joy rather than a burden. Because I'm seeing so many people on this planet with the best intentions at heart, but actually really, really giving themselves a hard time, making something that's supposed to be graceful, easy, and joyful, painful, challenging, and more of a struggle than it needs to be. Now, I take my own hand up to that because, you know, I've said before that you kind of graduate from computer game levels, and the next level there's new operating system. Well, there's a new way to operate within the next level that is important to learn. And in my life, I reckon I've had 4 different iterations of my soul purposes. I aligned with Star Peace. This was like the biggest vision I've ever had. And it made me contract because it was like, oh my God, who am I to come up with this? Who am I to bring this to fruition? It started to become really hard work rather than a joy. So I had to step back and realign and look at what was really coming up for me and what was genuine, you know, survival fear, and what was genuine ego survival fear, and to work with that. So that's why, you know, I really, really want to make clear that I practice everything that I teach and I see how it operates. So when you know the places you can get caught up, when you know the places that are going to be potential troubled waters, then you know how to navigate them. This is a big passion of mine, is for everyone who's in the world of co-creating, manifesting, law of attraction, that we learn very, very quickly that we're not here to guarantee fair weather sailing all the time. We're not here to control the outer world so it's always a bright blue sky and there's no clouds and it's just a perfect paradise day. We're here to navigate through all terrain, all weather training, so we know no matter what shows up in our lives, we've got the tenacity, the resilience, the resource, the self-belief, that inner authority required to navigate anything. That's what gives you the courage and the confidence, my friends, to really step forward in life and to embrace each day for what comes, because we know things are going to happen that are beyond our control. There's no point in trying to control everything. That's another element of fear that's so interesting. And neither should we, because we're co-creating with our higher selves and with the world around us, right? But our personal vibration is key, because this is what reverberates out. So if you would like to know more about these calls that I have on offer, I'll put the link in the text box for you. Also, please remember that, you know, some of you are going to be super ready to take a deep dive, and you've heard me speak enough and you're like, I want that. I want that experience. I want to go from longing to having. I want to move from struggling to thriving. I want to have this experience. I want to know what it feels like in my life so I can then grow it in my life. You know, that's the deep dive that you're ready for. Some of you are like, I'm not there yet. I need to create some real safety in my body first and move from head to body. And that's why I offer the online multidimensional yoga that I do twice a week. And there is a yoga membership you can join, which, you know, is a really great starting point for so many people, because my coaching business grew from my yoga business. It grew from people trusting me, seeing the shifts that were happening just through a physical practice that was designed to connect them to their soul, and then seeing what else was possible once they'd created that safety and that structure around them. So, you know, please do reach out and do ask for support. Do say what you feel you need right now. I'll be very glad. My team will be very happy to reach back and let you know what we have on offer to support you. The key is let fear work for you. It's there for a reason. Don't try and shut it down and deny it existing. Bring it out and have a conversation with it and let it be fuel to create passion for change in your life, to fuel passion for change in your life, rather than to stop you in your tracks, create the kind of contraction that stops you doing anything. I'm going to leave it there today. I'm aiming for a short video, so I would love to receive your comments. If you're catching this on YouTube, please do subscribe. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for hitting the all notifications and all videos tabs. It's lovely to have you in my community. And for those of you on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, remember that by joining the Manifesting Star Peace Utopia group, it's a safe space. It's full of other beings like you who are awakening soul humans. This is where I offer up first and foremost my world service, my manifesting meditation world service, also readings around new moon activations and things that are coming up. So this is your opportunity to get involved, and I send you so much love. I look forward to seeing you participate in the next stage of you evolving beyond whatever fear is running your life. For those of you who expressed interest in my conscious pregnancy journey, there's more information coming soon. I'm planning to do a one-day event, probably rather than a 5-day challenge, so we can do it all in one go, and you've got it all there towards the end of this month. So again, if this is the first you've heard of it and you're interested, put a comment in and I'll let you know as soon as I've got more information on that. I love you. Let's move out of the fear zone. Let's move into the thrive zone. Let's allow ourselves to be the version of ourselves that we most want to be. You are amazing. Take care for now, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.